Hi everybody, welcome to my channel, Life, Law, Fin. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. And I'm sure if you watched one of our first few videos, it was about the visa. And we're continuing that discussion today, specifically about the post-study or graduate work visa with Nadia Bari. I'm glad to have her on the channel today. So welcome, Nadia.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being featured. Now, Nadia is Bangladeshi, but she moved to New Zealand and then to London for her studies. She pursued her LLB at the London School of Economics and then went on to pursue the bar course at the University of Law. She's also the co-founder of the support group for overseas aspiring barristers as well. So Nadia, thank you for that. And would you like to share a little bit more information on that support group as well?
Yeah, sure. So at the moment, the support group is really just a group chat on Telegram where other aspiring barristers from all over the world. I think we have people who are in India, Barbados. A couple of them are currently in the UK, but I know that we had someone from Russia as well, Sweden, a whole range of nationalities and backgrounds that are all on this group chat. And we all basically aim to share resources, say about open days that different chambers might be having, or about schemes or even work opportunities that may be beneficial for international aspiring barristers. During the pupillage round, we also assisted each other by, say, looking over applications and also signposting, like I said, helpful resources, and just being there for emotional support, because it can be quite difficult, especially for international students, because a lot of them, particularly during COVID, didn't have a large amount of friends who were in the legal profession or any pre-existing connections to be able to kind of know what pupillage and applying for pupillage is actually like. So it's really an emotional and also a kind of professional support group.
And I'd say it's a really great resource because I'm a member, and I would encourage anyone else who, are aspiring barristers coming from abroad to join this group. I don't need to further elaborate, but it is a brilliant resource. And I do know as well that the group has, it's almost like there's subsets within the group where when pupillage came along, if you, depend on the kind of set you were applying for, so common law, family, you would go into that respective group and benefit and share, because that's important. You can't just receive. You have to give something as well. So benefit and share from other person's insights into the interview process. What the questions were like, what was the nature of it, the feeling, the environment. So it really is an invaluable resource. And I do commend Nadia and Makisa, who are the co-founders, for doing that. Now, Nadia, let's just jump straight into the meat of today's interview. Now, I know quite a bit about the graduate work visa, and I know you do as well. But let's start at a place where, from a point where persons may not know. So, what is this graduate, brand new, shiny graduate work visa?
The funny thing about it is that it's actually not that bright and shiny and new. It used to exist back in the day, but then they just decided not to give it to us back in the day. But basically, it's 2 years to stay in the UK after you finish what they called eligible qualifications. So that's anything from an undergraduate to a postgraduate to a PhD. And I noticed that it explicitly included GDL, bar course, and LPC as eligible degrees. So after you finish that, you can apply for an extra 2 years to stay on to work, live, and some restricted study options as well, as you like. It's an unsponsored visa, so you are not tied to an institution, whether that be a school or an employer either.
Brilliant. And I know that for PhD students, I think the time period is just a bit longer. I think it's about three
Yeah,
years.
3 years, three
Yeah,
years, yeah.
yeah. So that's just for those persons among us who may be pursuing their doctorate and or maybe wrapping it up at this point. Now, when can students begin applying for this visa?
So it's a little bit complicated at the moment because it's a visa that can only be applied for within the UK. So if you're not currently in the UK, you'll have to come back by a certain deadline. I think it's 21st of June if you started your course in the autumn of 2020, or 27th of September if your course started in January or February of this year, 2021. And you also have to have a valid student visa at the time of applying. So I think so. Yeah. So if you just finished your course in May and say you graduated in July, your student visa should still be ongoing, as I think they give you a few more months extra at the end, so you'd be able to apply. The official scheme starts, I think, at the moment they're saying 9 a.m. Thursday, the 1st of July of this year. I don't know if that might change, but that's the date that I've seen shared everywhere at the moment.
Yes, I definitely know that that's the date. That's the date I've seen as well, because anyone that's been following this new scheme would have recognized that there were a lot of alterations as well as it was being introduced. So I myself went home during the Christmas period, and then I found myself still at home in Barbados because I'm Barbadian. All to about February, and then I recognized the guidance was changing to say, well, you need to be back in the UK within by a particular date in order to benefit from this particular scheme. So with COVID, I guess COVID being so unpredictable, I said to myself, I better catch a flight when I can and return, because unfortunately, from what I have seen from the guidance, in no circumstances can you apply for this visa outside of the United Kingdom. So I definitely I have had my eye on that date, July 1st, and that date to return. Um, but we do know that visas can be indeed expensive. And there are
Yeah.
some big heavyweight fees that are to be expected, like the visa fee and the immigration health surcharge. So from our research, what kinds of payments can students expect to budget for here?
So, just going back to the fact that you can only apply from within the UK, there's also requirements on time periods that you would have had to spend in the UK. That's, I think, the general rule. But because of COVID, there are some distance learning concessions as well. But if you are in that situation where you are overseas, obviously something to take into account in terms of finances would be flights and accommodation to come back to the UK. Um, that's also another, I guess, a huge fee. Also, if you've been distance learning this whole time, you would probably have to apply for a student visa to get in the first place, because because I don't think you would be able to swap from a visitor visa to the graduate scheme. I'm not sure about that, but if that switch isn't possible, then you'd have to come here, get a CAS, and then come here and then apply for the graduate scheme, which can be hugely expensive because you're applying for essentially two visas in the same year. Um, However, unlike the normal student visa, there are no requirements to show any kind of maintenance funds. So you don't have to show that you have a certain amount of money in the bank account for a set 30 days, I think. But there is the £700 visa fee, and then the £624 immigration health surcharge. That would be doubled because if you're applying for the 2-year thing, if you're applying for the 3-year thing, you'd pay 3 times 624. I don't think there are any other fees associated with this so far, because you'd be applying from within the UK. I don't think there are any health things like a TB screening or anything else like that. And I don't think you'd have to pay for an English test either, because they take your qualification as evidence of English ability.
Yeah, definitely. That's the same kind of information I've been seeing as well. I It probably does help that you are in the UK. I know when I was applying for my second tier 4 visa, I was expecting the process to be a lot lengthier, but they asked me if I would wish to retain the current image that I had on my previous residence permit. I suppose it would have taken longer if I was feeling a bit vain and I wanted to take a new picture. But I told them, no, that's fine. Just put that old image on the new residence permit. So there may be something like that for many of us that have been here, it may be a situation where your image may be copied and pasted, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
onto your new residence permit, which may actually make the process a little bit
Yeah.
speedier.
That's quite interesting because when I back before COVID renewed it, I had to go in for biometrics again. So I guess maybe with COVID, they're doing more concessions to lessen the load of new appointments.
Yeah,
Um, there's also extra fees, I guess, if you want to expedite the process. I think it's like £900 to get but
very
you get your
expensive.
visa like the next day. So if you want that peace of mind and you have the funds, why not? So yeah, so if that's also something to take into account. I think most visas let you expedite it if there's a particular reason you need your residence
Yeah,
move faster.
agreed, and that's true. It might very well change by the time it's time for
Yeah.
us to apply, because COVID might be a situation where COVID is more under control, and we will have to come back
Yeah.
in for those biometrics. Because I was expecting to go back in, but because of the nature of the
Yeah.
time, they just said to me, if you're happy to just take that image, we will send you a new card with that old image on it. But with it, everything's up in the air, so I guess it's you just have to be prepared to go into a center if need be. Now,
Yeah.
how do you think this can help aspiring barristers, so students who are thinking about applying for pupillage, but
Mhm.
haven't yet gained it or obtained it?
Well, as someone who hasn't obtained pupillage, I think it'd be hugely beneficial because I'm hoping to go back to do my master's because there's a bunch of things I want to learn more about. And also, if I don't get pupillage, other job opportunities. Um, but also, I think it's useful just because it gets you more time in the UK. And more time in the UK means that you have a greater chance of, doing more volunteering, doing more minis, and I think the extra thing that's really good about it is that it lets you work in a wider variety of jobs than you otherwise could have done just under a work visa. I think the rules have changed at the moment, so a paralegal could get a work visa at the moment, but before, at least when I was researching, those types of roles were considered unskilled, so wouldn't come under a tier two skilled worker visa, I think it's now called. But obviously, with the graduate worker visa, you can do any kind of work. So you could be working as a paralegal or for a small NGO. And because there are no minimum salary requirements, it means that you have a wider option of jobs to apply for. And I think that coupled with I think there's changes to the resident labor market test as well. So it's slightly easier for us, not non-UK residents to get jobs at the moment under the scheme. So which is good, and experience only helps make applications better, more time to make links, get experience, all of that stuff.
Agreed. And I think most of the time, most of us that are looking to obtain pupillage definitely want to enhance our applications. And the dilemma is often when you are studying, because most of the time we're here, but we're studying, our studies have
Yeah.
to come first. So therefore you have to just probably rely on trying to balance your time to fit that around mooting, and fit that around other extracurricular, maybe pro bono based activities. But with the 2 years, we get the flexibility, as you said, to gain work experience, quite rightly, across a variety of fields, really. So by the time, I guess, that 2 years has elapsed, we should be in a great position to successfully apply for pupillage. Now, we do
Yeah.
know, yeah, sorry about that, Nadia.
No, I think there was another question about what students can do to begin preparing to apply.
Yes, yes. What can we do to begin preparing to apply? Obviously, besides researching the website, to understand what's happening.
So I think my biggest thing at the moment, if you're eligible now to apply, would be to check eligibility about how long you would have had to spend in the UK, just in case you've been distance learning. There are general requirements, but there are exceptions. So it's always worth contacting your provider's immigration team for information about eligibility, but also about the scheme itself. I think a couple of universities might be running information events about what this visa is as guidance comes out. There's also a helpful website called UK, It's ukcisa.org.uk. They're quite helpful setting out what the visas are in quite simple, plain language. So you don't have to go through like the endless pages on the Home Office website. Yeah, and I guess aside from that, it's just making sure that you have the funds, making sure that all the paperwork is right. Um, Also, I guess it might be worth if you know that you're eligible and that you're probably going to be staying longer, just making preparations to stay for longer, like looking for a job, looking for accommodation, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, because many people will be thinking about the possibility of moving on and applying for a skilled work visa. The truth is, and I think many of our viewers must understand this, if there's one thing that you should take away, this does not count towards settlement. This visa does not count towards staying or indefinite leave to remain in the UK. You will have to take another route after this. So it's the sole purpose of this visa is to gain work experience. As I just stated, it does not count towards indefinite leave to remain. You have to choose another route. And as I'm just stating another route, I just mentioned one there with the skilled worker visa, but are there any other ways that students can apply to remain and work in the UK after their studies?
So there's the normal work visa, which we all know is slightly harder to get and requires an employer to sponsor you. There is, I think there's another way, but this is only open to certain nationalities. It's called the Youth Mobility Visa. I think it's usually called Tier 5, not anymore. And I think it's open to certain nationalities, like if you're from Hong Kong, New Zealand, I think Australia, some other places as well. It's a limited list, and that gives you 2 years to kind of do whatever. It's kind of like this graduate role. It's kind of like this graduate worker scheme, except you don't need to have gotten um, a degree beforehand, but you have to be under 30. So, because it's a youth mobility visa. Yeah, if even if you can't get a visa to remain in the UK, I think this year has been a good lesson in showing the opportunities for remote work or remote volunteering or kind of remote insight schemes. So there's a lot of different things that you could be doing even if you're not in the UK, like writing for blogs, attending online conferences. There are a couple of online internships going on at the moment, I think. Some some minis are still virtual at the moment as well. Um, there's also hearings that you can watch as part of the Open Justice Court of Protection project, where you can watch a court of protection hearing, and then you might be able to write a blog piece about it. So there's plenty of things that you could be looking for online to do remotely, even if you're not able to get a work visa to stay longer in the UK, just to show that you're still engaged with the UK bar and stuff like that.
Brilliant advice, Nadia, and thank you very much for coming. I think definitely our viewers who are interested in staying on or interested in this scheme would have found this video beneficial. I myself am someone who was been keeping a keen eye on this visa route. So I do know from a person, I guess from a viewer's perspective, as opposed to the host, that this was incredibly beneficial. So thank you for taking the time to come and discuss this with me and discuss this with our viewers. And we hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, no, not a problem. Thanks for having me again.
Thank you, Nadia. And to the rest of our viewers, we'll see you on the next video, guys. Thanks for the support. Bye.